Right, we've got this little section of hair on the left hand side, and it's very dark. I put a little bit of white on first of all, then I put the ivory on. I'll just repeat what I did, so I need it to be just a little darker. And then I've used, or I am using the grey, 233, and what we want to do here is to make this very dark but look like hair. This is why I'm using the same colours I've used before, but this time with a much more concentration. Well, you also got to remember this hair is going to be in shadow, or most of it is. We're going to have an area here which is going to have light in it, and here, and then let's just use our colour shaper just to blend that. See what happens here. This is going to be much darker than this in a little while when I get to darken this off, because I shall be bringing, and the other thing about it is we need to bring some of this colour in here to darken that just a little. You can follow me, but I'm having to make up all of this. I'm going to have to darken the ear as well a little in a minute with some other colours. We're going to make it good, but that's not bad. Now we've got to now bring in the other colours. This is the ochre, and this is all before we darken it off. I'm going to introduce the 181 here. Takes quite a bit of courage to do what I'm doing, but there's no alternative. And when you see the end result of this, you'll understand that better. And it can come, a little bit of depth can come from here too. And some pink. Now, actually, what I'll use here is the 191. I've been using the other colour, 189, but really, because it's darker, we need a stronger pink. That'll do. And I think at the same time, we also will just a little touch of 183, which we've been using on the hair. Right, now, in for a penny. We've now got to darken that. What we can do is leave just traces of light like that. See, you can start to see how that's going to work out. And in here too. And that has now got to travel into there and back behind the ear. When we put the background on here, this is the time when excuse me, I shall be readjusting this area. That looks pretty gruesome, doesn't it? But see what we can do with the colour shaper. Sort of introduce it here so that it becomes a natural part of the hair. We can always bring the white back, we can always bring the ivory back. And I think too, I'm looking at it now, I think we need some ochre in there as well. 182. It's got to be 182 here. You'll see the difference that makes in a minute. changes the 181 to a much more acceptable level. Now I'm going to have to make that darker than that in a minute. Now while I'm doing this, trying to think what colour I'm going to be using for that. But you see how that's beginning to work. Not dark enough by a long way. But it's working. You've got to imagine the ear stronger. We can then try bringing some of that colour which we've picked up from here on the brush, and we can pick it up and we can just introduce it. Feather-like look. That's really nice. I've got more to do down here in a little while, but at least this has given me the idea. And I'm going to introduce other colours. Let's come back in with the ochre. Ivory. The white now will be against a very dark background, and the white. And now we need a darker colour for that. Let me give you a few choices. We've got this one, which is 157. We could use, or we could use black. Now, black is pretty devastating, but I think what we can do here, we can use both colours. The blue, which is 157, which picks up on the eyes particularly, and gives us just a little bit of colour. Could I have used that instead of 181? I could have done, but I'm so much confidence with 181. Now this is where the black comes in. Now look at the difference this is going to make. Can't come much further than that. That's about the limit. It's all about confidence, folks. When you do something like this, you've got to have the confidence to know that it will work, and so you make it work. That's probably about as dark as I think we want to be, but I still want to bring some colour in it. So this is 18. Is it 18? 131. Sorry, I thought it was 191. 191. And again, the colour shaper. A lot of this is not going to make any sense until I darken that background. Then I think you'll see and understand what I'm aiming for. And just a little bit of light white back in. go. Phew, now I'm going to pull back in a minute. You can have a look at that. But that's pretty good. Now, what about here? This is where we've got to darken it. I've used 191 for the ear, but now I've got to start thinking about coming a little deeper. So this is 169. I don't really use it in here, but we really have to make it just a little darker. 169 and 191 together. You see how much darker that now looks. And also, because we've used the 157 in here, we can still use that in here too. All I'm doing is putting just a little bit of that 157 back into the pink to make it just a little bit darker. And also we've got where are the orange I was using? Just a little bit of orange as well. There. I should be adding more of that in a little while, because I've used a little bit on the skin, but really here, and the 131, a little bit of pink as well. Lovely. Now to make that work again, you've seen this done before, a little bit of white to bring back that light on that side. Bit of a pain to keep cleaning the blender, but it really is important. There we are. Lovely. Well, that's made that nice. And what about here? Now we can now bring that little bit of depth in there. And a little pink if I can find it. Pink. White, which can look really attractive if you just do what I'm doing there. I think that's fine. I'm going to pull back and let you have a look at that. And what we've got to do now is I've got to do that in the same way, but there's no need to see me do it again. What you've seen me do is what is that. But have a look at that now from a little way away. Now that's as far as I have got there. I've darkened it using the 157, and you'll see why I've used that extensively. And I haven't finished this off completely because I can't until I've done the background. But that's looking good. Now over here, I've redesigned the hair using the white, concentrating where the highlights are. and I shall put more of that in later. And currently I'm now using the ivory on it. Now, these little gaps that you see here, we're going to bring the dark colour into that. That's going to be a bit tricky, but it's going to look great if we can pull it off. And the great thing is, folks, you have an advantage over me because you can see the finished picture, and I haven't yet, obviously. So it's nice to be able to see how it starts off life here with, and I can work my way round into the colours and designs you see on the final picture. Now this is a grey 230. It goes in, and from here onwards is then a question of using all the other colours that we've used before. Now I'm going to use a little bit of pink. I'm going to use a bit of grey first of all, I think. Yeah, I will. And the grey works out because that's where we can start the ball rolling with the tones. I'll do this first little bit here, and then I'll break off, and you can see this in my usual stop-start fashion. And on top of that, we'll be using the ochre. Yeah, I'm going to use this one. I use the other ochre, 183, but the 182 just gives it just a little bit more bite, which is what I found up there. In fact, what I'm going to be doing later is going back over the hair and adding a little bit more strength to it. Because you learn as you go along. This is the first little bit I did. So I've learned from that, and as I've gone round here, I've learned, you can see there, a little bit more ambitious, while I should be doing that up there. And this is a great thing about the pastel pencils. It teaches you all the time. Another area I've just seen here that is quite important is to set that face away from the hair. Now to do that, you've got to be a little bit more delicate with it. Make sure you don't interfere with the face too much, and then bring that out. There we are. And then this is where we can use the ochre as well. As you know, the 233 and the 182 work really well together. Now let's use our colour shaper here. A little bit of, probably best to get rid of anything on there, even though you may be using it on the face. Just cut that back a little bit, make sure we've got that bright there, and then into here. You can see how I've framed the face at the moment with the different tones. That really is important. And do I want it? Yes, I think I do. I think I'm happy with it being like that. It's a little hard there, but I think we can just bring a little more grey in. I want the contrast, so that's the important thing. In this particular instance, the hair is secondary importance to the face. Yeah, that looks alright. You know me, I don't like lines, and that was a line that was running around there. See, when is a line not a line? When it's a shadow. Right. Anyway, now I'm going to carry on with that, and as I say, I'll be bringing you back in to see all the important bits. But what I'm going to do now is going to start just developing the hair. The lovely thing about hair and the colour shaper is they work so brilliantly together. You can swing and twist and turn and create some phenomenal effects without really doing very much work on it. A little bit more strength in there. What we've got to do now is to think about the division. We've got to divide this here. Not just like I did there. That's got to be divided. A little bit of ochre as well. Got the idea? So now we have that separating from that and that. We put a little bit of white on there. that, we have division. But it's got to have all the pinks and other colours in like we have up here. So anyway, leave it to me. I've got a lot of work to do. Well, that's the hair done. I shall have to pick that up again a little later on, but we've got to get the background in. And what I'm using for this, I've got a shoulder line here. Now, what I intend to do with that is this colour is going to be the same down here. But before I get down there, I'm going to lighten that off very slightly later on. You'll see me do that. And what I've got to do now is I've got to put this is 157, by the way, if I haven't said. 157. It's unusual for me to go straight in with a dark colour, but in this case it works. I have tested it to make sure. And the other thing you've got to watch is any dust, you keep it on the picture. And I'll show you later on how to blow the dust you're not going to use away. Now, I say you're not going to use because I'm going to use that dust on the picture. Now, you want to make sure you create enough of it. So go over it 2 or 3 times. Don't press hard though. And the other colour we'll have here is black. Now this is picking up the colour of the eye, because I use this 157 in the eye. Now when you get there, and you've got a coverage like that, I don't think you'll get it any more than that. You might try to fill up some of those little sparkly bits, but you're not going to be very successful at it. And then I'm going to use the Ivory colour shaper. Now let's tap this away from the edge of the picture and then use this, and you'll be amazed at how well this actually rubs in. Now you can use your finger, but I would recommend you don't do that. You use the colour shaper. Now I don't mind if you interfere with the hair at all. You remember when I did that, I said that this is what I'd be doing, and we can bring that hair back again later. Now this is a long job, folks, so be prepared. Now go down on the shoulder line, because that's going to be important later on. Now, you don't want to see me do all that, but you can see how that's going to work out. But what I am going to show you is the next stage, and that is the black. Now we're going to put the black on. Here we are, the black over the top of that. Now that adds yet another colour, another level of pastel, and that's going to be rubbed in. Rub that in. And you see now we've lost all the sparkle, but that's not all, folks. We then go back over it again with 157. So what's happening, the black is sandwiched between the two, and once this goes on, you'll see no sparkle whatsoever on the paper. Now you see what I mean? Look at that. Isn't that lovely? From that to that. But that's how it's done. Anyway, you can leave this to me. I've got to go all round, and I'll bring you in every now and again when I get to around the hair particularly, and show you how we can marry the hair to the background. You see how that's going in really well. Now, be patient and you'll get it in. You can use the grey colour shape if you've got it as well. It's just that I think the ivory one's just a little softer, a little more gentle, but you can see how that is beginning to look. And now I think you'll understand why I was saying that the face really does come alive with this dark background. Okay, let me get on with it then. Now, rather than blow the dust away, we want to use it. But you can see how the dust is filtering in on top of the picture. There's a couple of things you can do. Obviously we can blow it, but if we blow it, all of that dust that we've got on there, which we're going to use, has gone away. So what you do is you turn your board up and tap it, and that taps all of the dust away from the edge. It also brings it over here, but that's all right because we can use it again. And that's probably the best we can do at this moment of time. What we don't want is any of the dust appearing on this very, very light picture. And then when you finish blending it in, you can see that I've gone into here, and this is what I was saying to earlier. We can actually start to bring some of the colour, especially as we've already got it on the colour shaper. Now you can see that what I'm doing is interfering with the edges of the hair very lightly now. Do this a little bit up here. All this can be brought back again, but you do need some of that colour on there, and I'm using the first coat to do it with. I don't necessarily need to put the black in there, but you can see how nice that is. Just blow that a little bit off because it was getting a little bit close to that edge. But you can see how well this is the first coat too. And look at it there and look at it here. But that's what it's going to look like down there when I put the next two coats on. But I wanted to bring you in just to see how this starts to interfere with the hair. Otherwise it will be too stark. Let me just show you what I mean by that. Although you probably saw it on the... Let's just do that little bit again with the... I lost my pencil, here we are. Just there. You see, if you put that on there, like that, and then we fill it in. And then we blend it. You see, it's too hard. The edge is much too hard. Let me show you again how to get out of that. Just use it very, very lightly on the edge to colour the edge, just very, very slightly. and that can be brought back in later on. Got it? Okay. Let me get on then. Now, I was going to tell you how to get rid of this dust. As I've said, if I just blew that now, a vast majority of it would go over the face, and you'd never get it back again. You'd never be able to get rid of it because you can't take it off. So what I would do is, in a situation like this, I'd get my box and I'd tap as much as I could of that into the box. Now, you're not going to be able to see it go in, but you've got to, well, you can see it actually falling on here. So that's got rid of the most of it. Otherwise it would go all over my office and studio cloth here. And this is only the first coat, but it's a good idea to get rid of that. And then we use the black, then the blue on top, which I shall do. Now the other thing is, when you blow this way, from the face outwards, like that. Now quite a lot of pastel went off, but what you've got is a lovely clear face, and the background, all the other dust, well, most of the dust would have gone in the bin, but some of the dust, you probably can see it here, look, is on my cloth. Okay, so now all we're going to do is put the black on and the blue back on, and we're ready to start work on the hair, which is going to need a bit of work on, as you can see, because I put the dark in there, and I have put the black in at the moment, but I'm going to leave that because we may not need too much black in there. But anyway, let me carry on. Now that's all the 3 coats put in. Now another thing, a little tip here, you probably can't pick this up on the screen, but the way I've blended this is sort of made sure that it's gone in nice and solid, and I've done it something like that, all different which ways. But what would look nice, you probably can't pick it up on the screen, but live I can see that as being all every which way. So what you do is very quick and very easy. You just bring the colour shaper in one line. Now I've gone all over here in the diagonal, exactly the same action, and it has made a little bit of difference to the picture. Alright, so let me just finish it off. It's not going to take very long to show you. Everything I do is going this way. Now there's another good reason for doing it, is that you pick up any tiny little imperfections that you've got, any little bits of sparkle of the paper showing through. So it's yet another blending technique, but it is very useful to do. Right, that's great. So that's actually now finished. You've got to do the hair. Just before the hair, I don't know whether you can pick it up on the screen, but I've added a little bit of light blue. Now the light blue I've used here is the blue we used in the eye, which is 149. And what I wanted to do was to lighten just this section here off. And what I'm hoping will happen is when I put the dark colour on, which is the same colour as that, on here, we'll see a line. It may be that I need to do it again, and only up to here. It's not very far, but then, as I say, you probably can just see that going on there, and then that's blended in, and it gives it just that little spot lighter. I don't really want to make it that much lighter than the jacket or dress or whatever it is she's wearing. You can't actually make it out because it's going to be very dark. But let's just see whether this works now. Now we're going in with the same colours again. There's a bit of protection here. This is the 157. And straight away we've kind of lost the edge. So while it's still fresh in your mind, on goes the black. And what I would do in a situation like this is I wouldn't put the 157 back on again. Not just here, anyway. And I'm hoping that when I blow that dust away, yeah, you probably just about can pick that up as being a little bit darker. Got it? If it isn't, maybe we can doctor it a bit. Put a little bit more blue. There. Now that is actually working. I hope you can see that on the screen. But in real life, that's lovely. I can just see the line. Now when I darken that down here, we'll actually see that. As I say, I might lighten it a bit more, I'm not sure. But for the moment, I'm happy with the situation, and it's too early anyway. I've got to do the hair. But I think I'm looking at the monitor now, and I think you could just pick it up. You'll pick it up more when I do a larger area. Okay? Now we've got to make good the edges. Now what I'm doing now is just bringing some of the colour back in. Don't worry about this, because you'll see, as I've done there, we can correct it. But what we've got to do is pull the colour into the light. Now that looks pretty good. And then you repair. Go back in with the colours that you've used before. A little bit of ochre. That's also had a little bit of grey on it, which is handy. Picked up a bit of grey, and then keep it clean. If you're coming from the light into the dark, you've got to keep it clean, and it's always better to use the soft colour shaper for this. You see, now that's nice. That gives it slightly more blondie look. It comes back into there. Marry the two together, and then you can use either the ivory or as well as the white. You don't want to make it too light though, just a little bit of shine, and there we are, that's that bit done. Now let's have the next bit. Once again, pull from the back dark colour. It's going to be more tricky when we get round the other side, but you can see how nice this actually looks if you pull some of the colour into the hair. Yeah, lovely. And then use the colour again. And you can vary this a bit. You can use a bit of pink as well. I've had a little bit of 189 as well as the ochre, and that looks almost perfect as it is without actually putting more ivory on. And then you just pull back. I wouldn't be too ambitious. What I'm doing is just about right, and then a little white in there, and there we are. We can probably leave that alone. Now I'll just use the I'm going to use a little bit of blue here, because I want to narrow that down just a little bit, and a little bit of black. That's better. Use the ivory colour shaper, and it's still got a lot of dark on it. Wow, that's much better. Great. I don't know whether I'd worry any more about that. I think that's probably acceptable. So let's move round to the top. Right. A little ochre. Maybe a little pink. If it looks okay, we'll leave it alone. And that's pretty good. A bit of ivory and a bit of white would be perfect. Now that's half the hair, and if I pull that back the other way, you'll have a look at it. It looks absolutely stunning, doesn't it? Now look at the difference between that and that. Now what I'll do, I've shown you that, I'll work on this and I'll show you little bits and pieces as we go down here, because it's a very long job. Let's go down here, very long job, and you'll be able to see how that all looks in the end. I think you'll be absolutely staggered at how well we can marry these two together. Now it's dress time. I've already started the ball rolling, so let me show you how I did that. First of all, I drew a line, so let's go around the other side. Right on the edge, using 157. I just do a little bit of this. It's a long job, this one. This is probably longer, and the background because we've got to be a bit more precise with it. And to go around here now, the only thing is there's a little buttonhole there, and I've left it in because I think that's really quite sweet to have. So we'll go around that like that. Okay, and what I would do is make sure that that's nice and wide too. You don't want to make it too narrow because we're going to be putting black on top of that. Right, and that has to be solid. So once you've got that, then we can use the colour shaper. I stick to this one because it's already charged up right up to the edge. You're going to have to blow that dust off because what you can't afford to do is to touch the skin. Okay, and so that's going to go all the way round, and another area we've got to work on is here. I start with the blue 157 again, and I do this as you go along because you're going to lose your way otherwise. It's already got the blue on. The other, what you could do actually is put the blue on as well. This is the 149, which gives you, it might be easier to do it that way, and then the black on top of the blue. And in this case we're going to leave that black on top of the blue. We're not going to put the 157 back on top of it, and that gives you then the edge that we need. You can see the other side is standing out quite nicely, and then then the blue then goes off and follows the contour of the shoulder, which is there. I'll do this quickly for you, show you the difference. And there we are. Now we have the contour of the shoulder. And I say, I would be inclined to put the blue on. This can be rubbed in at a later date. Not necessarily do it now. That gives you a nice area there. In fact, it's probably a good idea just to blend that slightly, because otherwise it's going to be a bit too obvious. Okay, right, so that's good, and I've got to do a little bit of work there. I haven't quite got the pastel. What you've got to watch though, folks, I warn you, is if you press hard you could start crushing the paper, so you're not going to get any more than what I've got on there on. But that looks great. So you can see now the shoulder line quite clearly. I might lose it. I might actually bring some of that blue. I like that blue. I like that. I might even bring the blue up into here. But you don't necessarily need to use this because we've got polychromos that we can use for that. If you haven't got polychromos, you could just use the blue. And I kind of like that blue on top. It's always a good idea to experiment a bit like this. I'll leave that there and see what I think. That's 149 I've put in there on top of it. And it gives it just a little bit of lift. With me? Right, okay, now back to this. Let's continue over here, because this is where I've started the ball rolling here. Let's do a little bit for you. I've used, this is 157. They look so similar, black and 157, and it doesn't really matter which one goes on first, but I think I prefer the 157 first. Now when you get down to here, we can now be, as it was, as we did earlier, we can be a little bit more loose with it. You don't have to be quite so tight. There I've gone quite tight on, and I would suggest you do that all the way through. In other words, like that, rather than leaving it open. But what we'll be doing there, and once again, that's going to, I would advise you to be quite tight with your colour there, and then the black on top of it, like that. But here, not so bad. You can do what we did with the background, rub that in, and then put the black on top, use all the dust. And then the black over the top. And when that's on, you rub it again. And I'll give you the choice now. You could either go back over with the 157, or you could leave it just black, because it works all right. Looks good. And I'm going to sharpen a black up too, and just go right onto this edge. I think the black might be better than the 157. Well, I'll do it and I'll let you know what I'm going to use. Actually, 157 will work quite well. You've got to be a little bit more precise here. You can't just leave it fluffy at the edge. It's got to be... No, I don't know. Maybe the 157 will work well. It would be the better one to use, as it's next to the skin. Yes, okay, I like that. I've got a mammoth job, as you can see. I've got to do all of that, and it's all got to look the same, but I think it'll be great. What we may well have to do is we may have to darken this a little more, but I wouldn't do it yet. I'd wait. We'll wait until we get this finished, then I can go over that again, because it looked dark, and that looks dark against that, doesn't it? But when you get the dark colour against it, it does tend to make that look a bit insipid. Anyway, we can do that later. Anyway, let me get on with this. It's going to take a long time, and there's no need for me to show you anymore. So next time you see it, it'll all be done like that, because I'm just wasting video time. But just to show you once again how that edge works. Be quite precise with that. You have to blow that away. I did tell you that, but you have to do that, because otherwise you could end up touching that light skin, and that would be fatal. And when you blow your dust away, blow it away from the light. And we'll have spots all over it otherwise. There you go. So that's going to be done all the way around. And next time you see it, the whole lot will be done. Now, I did say, didn't I, that we would need to darken this area a bit more, so I'm going to use the 157 blue until I get that just a little darker than that. And it's the same along down here as well. Let's do this and show you how much you need. It's stronger than you think it is, but blue on its own isn't going to work too well, but you have to go right up onto the edge of the dress like that. Okay, and now next colour we're going to use is the 191, 191, and we can bring that in, but we don't want to come all the way down. We just leave it dark right at the base, and then we work it out. You see how that works out? Graduation. Well, it's the same here. Not quite so much here, because this is actually dark down here. It's not, hasn't got the red. It's the skin that we're thinking of here. Okay, now that's good. And the only other colour I can think of that will work here is 181. So let's just put the 181 in here and see if we can get away with that. No, that's not bad. I don't think I'm going to bother to do any more there, that otherwise we'll spoil what we have. Using 191 again there, and just a touch of blending there, right on the edge of that. That would work quite well. Right on the edge. Okay. All right. Okay, that's fine. I don't think we can do it. Oh, yes, we ought to be doing this side as well. Okay, then. Not all the way. I think what we'll do, we'll leave it there because the light will be hitting that. Just go inside here. It worked well, so it's got to work again. And we can do with this a little bit more down here. Once again, we can touch the edge of the dress with it and use the colour shaper. And then the 191. Right. Okay, now, what's next? Well, next is, which I haven't done yet, is the blue on here. And this is the 157. We've got to go over the whole lot, except for that edge there, because I want that to be black. So the blue can go everywhere else. Now, you'll also notice that I've actually fused this area here. Now, the reason I did that, I didn't like the shoulders falling off the edge here. So what I've done, I've brought the black and the blue together there, which I think looks better. Right, blue. We don't see me do all that again. I'll just do the first little bit. And then, as it's had the blue on, rubbed in, it's had the black on, rubbed in, and now we've got the 157 blue again, and that will be excuse me, that will be rubbed in, and that will give us a nice midnight blue effect all throughout. There you go. So just say you can leave that to me. I'll finish that off, and then we'll decide whether we want to have any more added to it. At the moment, I'm not sure I do, but I'll have a look at it with you. We'll make some decisions. Well, there we are, the final picture of Marilyn. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a bit of a tough one, and it's in the masterclass range, but that shouldn't stop you having a go. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.